The stars shone like distant gems against the black canvas of space. In the command center of Earth's hidden orbital station, Commander Jack Reynolds stared at the holographic display, his face tight with worry. The alien message played again, its translation scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Juvenile civilization detected. Sector 7, Planet 3. Preliminary observation indicates early space exploration phase, preparing guidance protocols as per Confederation standard. Jack ran a hand through his gray hair. The aliens thought Earth was young, primitive, just taking its first steps into space. They had no idea what humanity had hidden beneath the surface. How long until they arrive? He asked. Anna Wright, the station's chief analyst, checked her screens. Based on their transmission patterns, less than 2 weeks, they're moving fast. Jack nodded, making his decision. Send the alert. Code Thunderbolt. It's time to show our hand. The warning spread quietly through Earth's secret network. While the public knew about the International Space Station and the moon base, they remained unaware of the true extent of humanity's space capabilities. For over a century, the world's governments had kept their most advanced technology hidden, ever since they had first intercepted alien communications in 1920. In an underground base beneath the Pacific Ocean, Captain Lisa Miller walked through the docking bay toward her ship. The EDS Thunderbolt gleamed under the bright lights, its sleek black hull absorbing more than reflecting. At 300 meters long, it was Earth's first true warship built for space combat. "Captain on deck," called out Tom Davis, her first officer, as she approached. The crew of 50 stood at attention. They were the best Earth had to offer. Pilots, engineers, and soldiers trained in secret for this exact moment. "At ease," Lisa said. She was not tall, but her presence commanded respect. Her dark eyes scanned the assembled crew. "You all know why we're here. For generations, we've kept our true capabilities hidden. Today, that changes." She activated a screen showing the approaching alien ship. "The Confederation thinks they're coming to an infant world. They plan to guide us, which means control us, take our resources, maybe turn us into a client state. They've done it before to others." The crew watched her intently as she continued. "Our job is simple. When the order comes, we launch and show them Earth isn't the easy target they believe. We don't start a war, but we make it crystal clear we won't be controlled." Tom stepped forward. "Engine room reports all systems green, Captain. Weapons and shields at full capacity." Lisa nodded. "Good. We have 3 days to prepare. Study your stations, review the battle plans. This is what we've trained for." High above Earth, in what most people thought was just a research satellite, General William Cooper met with the World Security Council. Representatives from 12 nations sat around the table, faces grim as they viewed the data. "The alien vessel will reach Earth orbit on Friday," said the Russian representative. "It's larger than we anticipated, but still just a diplomatic ship, not a warship," added the Indian counselor. "Our intelligence confirms it's equipped for first contact, not battle." General Cooper stood at the head of the table. "This is what we've prepared for since the listening post first picked up their transmissions. They think we're children who just learned to walk. They have no idea we've been monitoring their communications for decades." The Chinese representative leaned forward. "An Operation Falseface, is it working?" Cooper nodded. "Perfectly. Our public space program looks exactly like what a young civilization should have. Old rockets, primitive satellites, basic space stations. Meanwhile, we've kept everything important underground or behind Mars." "And the Thunderbolt?" asked the Brazilian counselor. "Ready to launch on your command," Cooper replied. "Captain Miller reports all systems go." The American representative stood up. "Then we proceed as planned. When their ship arrives, we play along with their expectations. Act impressed by their technology. Appear grateful for their guidance." Meanwhile, the Thunderbolt moves into position. The vote was unanimous. Earth would maintain its deception, right until the moment it revealed its true strength. In her private quarters aboard the Thunderbolt, Lisa reviewed the alien data one last time. The Confederation had encountered 17 other civilizations in the past century. All had been classified as juvenile and brought under Confederation control. Some prospered as client states. Others were stripped of resources and abandoned. The pattern was clear. The Confederation preyed on young worlds that couldn't fight back. A knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. It was Dr. Robert Green, the ship's science officer. "Captain, I've finished analyzing their shield frequencies," he said, handing her a tablet. "Based on the transmissions we've intercepted, I believe we can penetrate their defenses with minimal adjustment to our weapons." Lisa studied the data. "Good work, Doctor. Will they be able to track us when we launch?" Robert shook his head. "No, Captain. Our hull material absorbs their standard scanning frequencies. As long as we stay in Mars' shadow until we make our move, we should achieve complete surprise." "Perfect," Lisa said. "That's exactly what we need." On Friday, right on schedule, the alien ship appeared in Earth's orbit. It was enormous, at least a kilometer long, shaped like a gleaming silver arrow. It broadcast messages of peace and friendship in all Earth languages. In Washington, D.C., the official First Contact team gathered. They were politicians and scientists who knew nothing about Earth's secret space program. They genuinely believed this was humanity's first encounter with alien life. Their shock and awe would be real, exactly what the Confederation expected to see. Jack Reynolds watched from the hidden command center as the alien ship deployed, a smaller vessel toward Earth. Inside it would be the Confederation representatives coming to offer their guidance to a young species. He opened a secure channel to the Thunderbolt, now positioned in the shadow of Mars. "Captain Miller, are you ready?" Lisa's voice came back clear and confident. "Ready and waiting, Commander. Engines hot, weapons charged." "Good," Jack said. "Remember, we don't fire first. We show strength, not aggression." "Understood, sir." Jack closed his eyes briefly. Humanity had hidden in the shadows for generations, building and preparing while presenting a false face to the galaxy. Now the deception was about to end. "May God help us all," he whispered, then opened the channel again. "Operation Thunderbolt is go. Repeat, Thunderbolt is go." In the darkness behind Mars, the Thunderbolt's engines flared to life. Earth was about to announce itself to the stars, not as a child, but as a power to be reckoned with. The Confederation ship gleamed in Earth's orbit, a massive silver arrow catching the sun's light. In its shadow, a smaller vessel descended toward the blue planet below. Inside sat Administrator Dorn, a tall being with pale blue skin and 6 fingers on each hand. He reviewed the data on Earth one final time. "Such a young species," he said to his assistant, Melk. "They've barely left their atmosphere. This will be an easy integration." Melk nodded, her slender neck bending gracefully. "Their technology is primitive. The scans show only basic satellites and a small space station." "Perfect," Dorn smiled. "They'll be grateful for our help, and their planet is rich in resources we need." The shuttle entered Earth's atmosphere, heading for the landing site in Washington, D.C. Dorn had no idea he was being watched by hidden sensors far more advanced than anything the Confederation believed Earth possessed. Deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean, in another secret base, Admiral Frank Wilson monitored the alien descent. Around him, officers tracked every movement of the Confederation ships. "The shuttle will land in 5 minutes," reported his communications officer. "Our people are in position to greet them." Frank nodded. "And the Thunderbolt?" "Still in position behind Mars, sir. Captain Miller reports all systems ready." "Good," Frank said. "Now we play our parts perfectly. Remember, everyone on the surface needs to appear suitably impressed by their technology." On his command screen, he could see the world leaders gathering at the landing site. None of them knew the truth. Their reactions would be genuine. Exactly what Earth needed to maintain its deception a little longer. The alien shuttle landed softly on the White House lawn. News cameras from around the world captured the historic moment as the ramp lowered and Administrator Dorn emerged, flanked by 4 other aliens. The Earth delegation approached cautiously, led by the American President and the UN Secretary General. "Welcome to Earth," the President said, his voice strong despite his nervousness. "We are honored by your visit." Dorn smiled, showing teeth too perfect to be natural. "The honor is ours, President Harris. The Confederation greets Earth as a new friend." The formal introductions continued, broadcast to billions around the world. Meanwhile, in orbit, a very different meeting was about to take place. Captain Lisa Miller stood on the bridge of the Thunderbolt as it slipped out from behind Mars. The ship's advanced stealth systems kept it invisible to Confederation sensors. "Time to intercept?" she asked. Tom checked his console. 30 minutes at current speed, Captain." "And the alien mothership?" "Still in high orbit. Their attention is focused on the landing. They have minimal shields up. They're not expecting trouble." Lisa nodded. "Good. Maintain course and speed. Weapons on standby, but don't power up until my command. We don't want to give them any warning." As the Thunderbolt glided silently through space, Lisa thought about humanity's long journey to this moment. For centuries, Earth had kept its true capabilities hidden. When the first alien signals were detected in 1920, the world's governments had made a fateful decision to listen and learn, but never reveal themselves. They had intercepted enough Confederation communications to understand the danger. The aliens didn't come as equals. They came as masters looking for resources and new worlds to control. So Earth had prepared in secret. While showing the world primitive rockets and basic satellites, the hidden program built true starships and weapons that could match anything the Confederation had. "Captain?" Tom's voice broke into her thoughts. "Message from Earth Command. The surface meeting is proceeding as planned. Administrator Dorn is offering Confederation protection now." Lisa's jaw tightened. "Right on schedule. Let's get a bit closer." In Washington, Administrator Dorn stood before the gathered world leaders in the White House East Room. Behind him, a holographic display showed the wonders of the Confederation, gleaming cities, advanced technology, and peaceful aliens of different species living together. "The Confederation welcomes developing worlds like yours," Dorn said smoothly. "We offer technology, medicine, and protection as you grow. In return, we ask only for certain resource rights and your participation in our collective." The President leaned forward. "What kind of resource rights?" Dorn waved his six-fingered hand casually. "Nothing that would impact your daily lives. Just mining rights to certain minerals in your oceans and polar regions, and perhaps cultivation rights to 20% of your arable land." The President exchanged glances with other world leaders. This was playing out exactly as Earth's intelligence had predicted. "That's quite a request," the UN Secretary General said carefully. "We would need time to consider this offer." Dorn's smile remained fixed, but his eyes hardened slightly. "Of course. Though I should mention that Confederation protection begins immediately. For your safety, our mothership will deploy a defense grid around your planet." The trap was being set. Once the defense grid was in place, Earth would be effectively contained. "How long would we have to consider your offer?" asked the Chinese president. "Standard protocol gives new worlds 7 of their days," Dorn replied. "But I'm confident you'll see the benefits well before then." On the bridge of the Thunderbolt, Lisa received the coded message from Earth Command. 7 words that would change history. "Grid deployment beginning. You are cleared to engage." "Battle stations," she ordered. The bridge lights dimmed to red as the crew moved with practiced efficiency. "Weapons online," reported the tactical officer. "Shields at maximum. Stealth systems disengaging in 3, 2, 1. Tom counted down. Lisa stood, her voice calm and clear. "Take us in, full speed. Target their shield generators and communication arrays only. We're not here to destroy them, just to send a message." The Thunderbolt's engines flared to brilliant life as the ship abandoned stealth and accelerated toward the unsuspecting Confederation mothership. For the first time, the aliens would see what Earth was truly capable of. In the command center, beneath the ocean, Admiral Frank watched the Thunderbolt appear on his screens, no longer hiding its presence. "Godspeed, Captain Miller," he whispered. "Show them what Earth can do." In Washington, Administrator Dorn's meeting was interrupted by an urgent message from his ship. His confident expression vanished as he listened to the panicked report in his earpiece. "Impossible," he whispered, his blue skin paling to almost white. "Where did it come from?" The Earth leaders watched in confusion as the alien suddenly stared at them with new eyes, no longer condescending, but afraid. In orbit, above them, humanity's first starship was about to strike. The thunderbolt cut through space like a knife, its black hull absorbing light rather than reflecting it. On the bridge, Captain Lisa Miller watched as the distance to the Confederation mothership rapidly closed. "Weapons locked on target," reported Marcus, her weapons officer. "Shield generators and communication arrays identified." "Enemy status?" Lisa asked, her voice steady despite the tension running through her body. Tom checked his readings. "They're scrambling, Captain. Sensors show they're trying to raise shields to full power, but they weren't prepared. Their weapon systems are coming online, but slowly." Lisa nodded. This was exactly what they had hoped for: surprise and confusion. "Time to intercept? 45 seconds. She opened the ship-wide comm. "All hands, this is the captain. We are about to engage the Confederation vessel. Remember your training. This isn't just about today. It's about humanity's future among the stars." On the tactical display, she could see the massive alien ship growing larger. It was beautiful in its way, a marvel of engineering. But it represented a threat Earth could not allow. 30 seconds to weapons range," Tom announced. Lisa took a deep breath. "Fire on my mark." In the White House, Administrator Dorn's composure had completely shattered. He was barking orders into his communication device, his previously friendly demeanor replaced by panic. "Full shields, power all weapons, where did it come from?" he shouted. The Earth leaders exchanged subtle glances. The President stepped forward. "Is something wrong, Administrator?" Dorn looked at him with new eyes, suspicion replacing condescension. You knew. This is a trap." The President maintained a puzzled expression. "I don't understand. What's happening?" Before Dorn could answer, one of his aides burst into the room. "Administrator, Earth has a warship. It's approaching the mothership at attack speed." The room fell silent. The charade was beginning to unravel. "Mark," Lisa commanded. The Thunderbolt's weapons fired in perfect sequence. Brilliant beams of energy streaked across space, striking the Confederation ship precisely where intended. The alien vessel's shield generators exploded in bursts of blue fire. "Direct hits on all primary targets," Marcus reported. "Their shields are down to 20% capacity." "Again," Lisa ordered, "target their weapons arrays now." The Thunderbolt banked sharply, evading the few defensive shots the Confederation ship managed to fire. Earth's warship was smaller but far more agile. It circled the larger vessel, firing with surgical precision. "Their main communication array is disabled," Tom reported. "They can't call for help." Lisa nodded. "Bring us around for another pass. Target their engine control systems, just enough to prevent them from leaving orbit." The Thunderbolt responded instantly to her commands. On the screens, the Confederation ship looked like a wounded animal, venting atmosphere from multiple breaches. "Captain," her communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the alien vessel. They're surrendering." A murmur ran through the bridge. This had happened even faster than they expected. "Put it on screen," Lisa ordered. The face that appeared was not Dorn's, but another blue-skinned alien, this one with markings that suggested higher rank. His expression mixed shock with fear. "This is Fleet Captain Wren of the Confederation vessel Enlightenment. We surrender. Please cease your attack, we have civilians aboard." Lisa kept her expression neutral. "This is Captain Lisa Miller of the Earth defense ship Thunderbolt. Your surrender is accepted on condition that you power down all remaining weapons and make no attempt to deploy your containment grid or contact other Confederation vessels." The alien blinked rapidly, clearly struggling to understand how this was possible. "Agreed. But how? Earth is a juvenile world. Your technology cannot—" "Your intelligence was wrong," Lisa cut him off. Transmit your compliance and prepare to receive boarding parties. As the screen went dark, cheers erupted across the bridge. Lisa allowed it for a moment before raising her hand for silence. Well done, everyone. But this is just the beginning. Tom, contact Earth Command. Tell them the Confederation ship is secured, and ask for instructions regarding Administrator Dorn. In the underground command center, Admiral Frank Wilson received the news with grim satisfaction. Around him, officers and technicians celebrated quietly. "The Thunderbolt reports complete success, sir," his aide said. "The alien ship is disabled and has surrendered." Frank nodded. "Send the extraction team for Dorn. It's time to drop the act." He turned to the large screen showing the Thunderbolt positioned beside the much larger Confederation vessel. Decades of secrecy and preparation had paid off. Earth had revealed its true face, not a helpless child, but a prepared defender. "Begin Operation Truth," he ordered. "It's time to show them everything." In Washington, the mood had changed dramatically. Administrator Dorn was now surrounded by not just diplomats, but military personnel who had shed their civilian disguises. They wore uniforms with patches showing Earth's real space fleet insignia. "What is the meaning of this?" Dorn demanded, though his voice lacked conviction. The president's friendly expression remained, but his eyes had hardened. "Administrator, your ship has surrendered to our forces. Your deployment of a containment grid has been prevented." "Impossible," Dorn whispered. "You're a juvenile species. You have only primitive rockets and basic satellites." The president smiled. "That's what we wanted you to believe. What the Confederation has been seeing is only what we allowed you to see." A new figure entered the room, General William Cooper in full military dress. "Administrator Dorn, you will now accompany us to our orbital command center. There's much to discuss about the Confederation's future relationship with Earth." Dorn looked from face to face, finally understanding. "How long?" he asked. "How long have you been deceiving us?" The general's smile was cold. "Since we first intercepted your transmissions, over 100 years ago. We know all about the Confederation's guidance of developing worlds. We know what happened to the Polari and the Vox. We know everything." Dorn's shoulders slumped. The perfect trap had been sprung, and he had walked right into it. "Captain," Lisa Miller watched as her boarding parties reported back from the Confederation ship. The aliens had complied fully, powering down weapons and accepting Earth's troops aboard. "Captain," Tom called out, "we're receiving new orders from command. We're to escort the Confederation vessel to the dark side of the moon." Lisa raised an eyebrow. "The dark side? So they're finally revealing Luna Base?" "Yes, Captain. Operation Truth is in effect. All hidden bases and ships are being revealed." Lisa smiled. After generations of secrecy, humanity was finally showing its true face to the stars. The Thunderbolt was just one of dozens of advanced warships Earth had built in secret. "Send the escort coordinates to the Confederation vessel," she ordered, "and prepare for Phase 2. As the Thunderbolt moved into position, Lisa thought about what would come next. This wasn't just about defending Earth. It was about changing the balance of power in the galaxy. The Confederation was about to learn that humanity would not be controlled or exploited. They had thought Earth was young and easy target for their manipulations. Instead, they had found a wolf in sheep's clothing, and now the wolf was showing its teeth. Administrator Dorn had never felt so small. The shuttle carrying him from Earth ascended through the atmosphere, but instead of returning to his ship, it changed course toward the moon. Through the viewport, he could see his own vessel, the mighty Enlightenment, being escorted by the black Earth ship that had so easily disabled it. "Where are you taking me?" he asked the silent human guards. General Cooper, sitting across from him, finally spoke. "To a place that doesn't exist according to your intelligence." The shuttle banked, and the dark side of the moon came into view. Dorn's eyes widened. Where there should have been only craters and dust, there was instead a massive complex spreading across the lunar surface. Lights gleamed from domes and towers. Ships moved in and out of large hangar bays, Impossible, Dorn whispered. Luna Base, General Cooper said with undisguised pride. Established 80 years ago, home to 10,000 personnel, one of 12 major off-world bases we've built. The shuttle descended toward an opening in the largest dome. As they landed, Dorn could see humans in uniforms moving with purpose through the base. This was no hastily built facility. This was the result of decades of planning and construction. Why the deception? Dorn asked as they exited the shuttle. Why hide all this? Cooper gave him a hard look. Because we know how the Confederation treats worlds it considers threats. Captain Lisa Miller stood at attention as Admiral Frank Wilson stepped onto the bridge of the Thunderbolt. The crew snapped to salute. At ease, the Admiral said. Captain Miller, excellent work. The Confederation vessel is now secured at Luna Base. Thank you, sir, Lisa replied. What are our orders now? Admiral Wilson moved to the command chair that Lisa had vacated. The next phase is already beginning. Earth is revealing its full capabilities. Not just the Thunderbolt, but the entire fleet. On the main screen, a tactical display showed green dots emerging from hidden bases on Mars beneath Earth's oceans and from the asteroid belt. Each dot represented an Earth warship, moving into defensive positions around the planet. 30 ships, sir, Tom asked, unable to hide his surprise. 37, actually, the Admiral corrected, plus our fixed defenses and orbital platforms. We're showing the Confederation exactly what they're dealing with. Lisa studied the display. What about Administrator Dorn? He's being taken to the council chamber at Luna Base. It's time for new negotiations, with Earth dictating the terms. In the gleaming council chamber beneath the lunar surface, Dorn sat alone at one end of a long table. At the other end were the representatives of Earth's nations, now dressed in their true military and diplomatic uniforms, rather than the civilian clothes they had worn on the surface. The president spoke first. Administrator Dorn, let me formally introduce myself. I am not just the President of the United States, but also the current chair of the Earth Defense Alliance, the organization that has, for over a century, prepared humanity for this day. Dorn looked from face to face. Your deception was complete. We had no indication of your true capabilities. That was the point, said the Chinese representative. We intercepted Confederation communications in 1920. We learned how you guided developing worlds, how you stripped resources from planets that couldn't defend themselves. So we made a decision, the Russian delegate continued. We would appear weak while building strength. We would let you see only what supported your belief that we were primitive. Dorn's 6 fingers tapped nervously on the table. What happens now? Will you destroy our ship? Kill me and my crew? The president shook his head. No, we are not. Like the Confederation, we don't destroy those we can talk to. Instead, we want to negotiate as equals. A door opened, and Technical Officer Ben Parker entered. He was carrying a data pad. Sorry I'm late. The analysis of their ship is complete. And? Asked the president. Ben smiled. As we suspected, their technology is advanced, but not as advanced as they led us to believe. In some areas, we're actually ahead of them. He turned to Dorn. Your weapon systems, for instance. Impressive, but our quantum shielding is better. And your faster-than-light drive? We developed something similar 40 years ago, but ours is 20% more efficient. Dorn stared in disbelief. But how? Without guidance from an advanced civilization? Because we had to, Ben interrupted. Because we knew we were alone against potential threats. Necessity drove our innovation. On the Thunderbolt, Lisa was preparing for her next mission. The ship had been quickly resupplied at Luna Base and was ready to depart again. Captain, Tom said, approaching with a datapad. Our new orders are in. We're to take diplomatic representatives to the Confederation Central Council. Lisa raised an eyebrow. They're moving that quickly. Apparently, Administrator Dorn has been cooperative since seeing our full capabilities. He's provided coordinates and diplomatic protocols. Lisa nodded. How many ships are we taking? 3. The Thunderbolt will lead. with the Defiance and Challenger as escort. A small fleet, but enough to make an impression. Earth was stepping onto the galactic stage, not as a supplicant, but as a power. "Prepare the ship," Lisa ordered. "We depart in 6 hours." Back in the Lunar Council chamber, Dorn was reviewing the terms Earth had prepared. His hands trembled slightly as he read. "These are not what I expected," he admitted. The president nodded. "We don't want war with the Confederation. We don't even want to disrupt the stability you've built. What we want is recognition as equals and reform of how you treat developing worlds." Dorn looked up. "The Council will never agree to this." "They will," said General Cooper, "once they understand the alternative. Earth is prepared to protect other developing worlds from exploitation, by force if necessary." The implications were clear. Earth wasn't just defending itself, it was positioning itself as a counterweight to Confederation power. "You've been hiding and watching for a century," Dorn said slowly. "What else have you been doing that we don't know about?" The Russian representative smiled coldly. "We've been making friends, Administrator. Other worlds that chafe under Confederation. Guidance. We've been very quiet, very careful. But we haven't been idle." Dorn set down the data pad. His world was changing by the minute. The Confederation had stumbled upon not just a surprisingly advanced world, but a potential revolution in the making. "I will present your terms to the Council," he said finally. "But I must warn you, they will not surrender power easily." The president's expression was firm. "Neither will Earth. We've waited too long and prepared too carefully to accept anything less than full recognition of our sovereignty, and the sovereignty of any world that asks for our protection." As Dorn contemplated this new reality, the Thunderbolt and its sister ships broke orbit from the Moon, beginning their journey to the heart of Confederation space. Earth was stepping out of hiding, and the galaxy would never be the same. The journey to the Confederation Central Council took 3 days. Captain Lisa Miller spent most of that time studying the data Administrator Dorn had provided about Confederation protocols and defenses. The Thunderbolt led the small Earth fleet, with the Defiance and Challenger flanking it in perfect formation. "Entering Confederation space now, Captain," Tom announced as the ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Lisa nodded. "Any sign they've detected us?" "Yes, ma'am. Multiple sensor sweeps. They definitely know we're here." The main screen showed their destination, a massive space station shaped like a wheel, rotating slowly against the backdrop of a red giant star. Around it floated dozens of Confederation ships, their silver hulls gleaming in the red light. "They've sent us landing coordinates," said the communications officer, "and a warning not to deviate from our assigned path." Lisa smiled grimly. "Acknowledge the coordinates. Maintain defensive posture, but keep weapons powered down. Let's not start a war today if we can help it." As the 3 Earth ships approached, a squadron of smaller Confederation vessels moved to escort them. The message was clear. They were being watched carefully. "Quite a reception committee," Tom remarked. "They're scared," Lisa replied. "And they should be. We've changed everything they thought they knew about the balance of power." In the station's Grand Council chamber, representatives from 37 spacefaring species sat in rising tiers around a central speaking floor. The chamber buzzed with nervous conversation. News of Earth's surprise attack and hidden technology had spread quickly through Confederation space. The Supreme Counselor, a tall, thin being with translucent skin, called for order. "The representatives from Earth will enter now. I remind all. Counselors that diplomatic immunity is in effect." The massive doors opened and the Earth delegation entered. Led by General Cooper, it included Captain Miller, Technical Officer Ben Parker, and diplomats from Earth's major powers. Administrator Dorn followed behind them, looking distinctly uncomfortable. The Earth delegation took their place on the speaking floor. General Cooper stepped forward. "Greetings, Supreme Counselor, distinguished representatives of the Confederation. I am General William Cooper of the Earth Defense Alliance." We come to establish new relations between Earth and the Confederation, relations based on equality and mutual respect. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The Supreme Counselor raised a hand for silence. General Cooper, your world has deceived the Confederation, hidden military capabilities, and attacked one of our vessels. These are not the actions of a peaceful civilization. Cooper's expression remained calm. With respect, Supreme Counselor, we acted in self-defense. Earth intercepted Confederation communications over a century ago. We learned how you classify developing worlds, how you exploit those you deem juvenile. We saw what happened to the Polari, the Vox, and others who accepted your guidance. Another counselor stood, this one with scaled skin and yellow eyes. You claim to have studied us for a century? Impossible. Your species has barely achieved spaceflight. Ben Parker stepped forward. Actually, Counselor, that's what we wanted you to believe. The space program you observed was a carefully constructed facade. Behind it, we built this. He activated a holographic display that showed Earth's true space capabilities. The lunar base, the fleet of ships, the Mars colonies, all hidden from Confederation observation. Shocked whispers filled the chamber. The Supreme Counselor leaned forward. If what you show is true, why reveal yourselves now? Why not remain hidden? Lisa Miller spoke up. Because we learned you were preparing to place a containment grid around our planet. We couldn't allow that. And because it's time for the exploitation to end, not just for Earth but for all developing worlds. The chamber erupted in angry shouts. The Supreme Counselor banged a gavel for order. You dare to threaten the Confederation? Your 3 ships, against our entire fleet? General Cooper smiled. We brought 3 ships as a diplomatic courtesy. But make no mistake, Earth is prepared to defend itself and others. And we are not alone. He nodded to Ben, who changed the holographic display. Now it showed communications between Earth and representatives of 6 other worlds, all classified as juvenile by the Confederation, all secretly contacted by Earth's hidden agents over decades. The Vox remember what you did to their southern continent, Cooper continued. The Polari haven't forgotten how you stripped their moon of resources. The Talari still count their dead from the assistance you provided during their civil war. The Supreme Counselor's translucent skin flushed dark with anger. This is outrageous. You've been interfering with our protectorates? No, Cooper corrected. We've been offering them a choice. And now we extend that choice to all worlds under Confederation protection. They can remain under your control, or they can join the Earth Alliance as equal partners. The chamber fell into stunned silence. On the bridge of the Thunderbolt, Tom monitored the situation through their secure link to the Earth delegation. The Confederation ships are changing position, he reported to the acting captain. They're moving to surround us. Lieutenant Maria Rodriguez left in command while Captain Miller attended the council, nodded calmly. Expected. Maintain defensive posture. Shields at maximum, but weapons still powered down. What if they attack? Asked a nervous ensign. Maria smiled. They won't. That's not what this is about. This is about showing strength while talking peace. She turned to the tactical display. The dance was continuing in space. Confederation ships trying to intimidate. Earth ships standing firm. But no one firing. Not yet. Besides, Maria added, they don't know about our other ships. On her private screen, she could see what the Confederation couldn't. 5 more Earth vessels waiting just outside sensor range, ready to jump in if needed. Earth had prepared for every possibility. Back in the council chamber, the Supreme Counselor had called for a brief recess. The Earth delegation stood to one side, while Confederation representatives huddled in small groups, talking urgently. They're rattled, Lisa observed quietly to General Cooper. He nodded. Good. Fear can be a powerful motivator for peace. Administrator Dorn approached them, looking worried. The council is divided. Many want to reject your demands outright to prove the Confederation cannot be challenged. And the others? Cooper asked. They see the risk. If what you've shown about your alliances with other worlds is true, This could spark a civil war within the Confederation. The Supreme Counselor returned to his position and called for attention. The chamber quieted. The Council has deliberated. We are prepared to establish provisional diplomatic relations with Earth, pending further negotiations. About your unusual status, Cooper stepped forward. We accept provisional relations, but our core demands remain. Earth will be recognized as a sovereign equal, not a protectorate. And any world currently under Confederation guidance will be given the opportunity to choose its status freely. The Supreme Counselor's face showed the strain of conceding to these terms. The details will require extensive negotiation. Of course, Cooper agreed. That's why we've come, not for war, but for a new beginning. As the formal proceedings continued, Lisa Miller looked around the chamber. In just 1 week, humanity had changed its place in the galaxy, from a species believed to be taking its first steps into space, to one that had forced the mighty Confederation to negotiate as equals. They had thought Earth was young, an easy target for control and exploitation. Instead, they had found a world that had watched, waited, prepared, and then struck with perfect timing. Earth was stepping onto the galactic stage at last, not as a child but as a protector, not just for humanity, but for all worlds that deserved their freedom. The deception was over. The truth had been revealed, and the stars would never be the same again.
The old warship drifted through the dark space between the stars, its hull bearing the scars of a decade of service. Paint peeled from its sides, and some of the exterior lights flickered weakly against the void. In large letters along its hull, the name Defiant stood proud, though the elements had worn away at its once bright paint. Captain James Miller stood at the bridge's main viewport, his weathered hands clasped behind his back as he watched the stars drift by. 20 years of space service had left gray streaks in his dark hair, but his eyes remained sharp as ever. The bridge crew worked quietly at their stations, the soft beeping of instruments providing a comfortable background rhythm to their patrol route. "Captain," called out Tom from the sensor station, his voice cutting through the quiet. "We have company. Imperial patrol vessel approaching from Sector 7. Miller nodded, unsurprised. The Empire's ships had developed a habit of shadowing the Defiant whenever they crossed paths. Standard approach. "Yes, sir. They're making no effort to hide their presence." "Of course they aren't," Miller muttered. He squared his shoulders and prepared for what would come next. The Empire's crews had become predictable in their arrogance. The massive Imperial vessel emerged from the darkness like a predator, its silver hull gleaming with the light of distant stars. The ship was everything the Defiant wasn't: sleek, modern, and pristine. Its design spoke of power and wealth, a testament to the Empire's technological superiority. The communications officer, Ann Wilson, touched her console. "They're hailing us, standard frequencies." "Put them through." Miller kept his voice level, professional. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing the sneering face of an Imperial captain. His uniform sparkled with decorative metals, and his purple skin seemed to shimmer under the bright lights of his bridge. "Well, well," the Imperial captain's voice dripped with mock surprise. "If it isn't the humans' famous rust bucket. Still holding together, I see. Rather impressive for such primitive engineering." Miller smiled politely. He'd heard variations of this speech dozens of times before. "Imperial vessel, this is Captain James Miller of the Earth ship Defiant. We're conducting a routine patrol of human space. Is there something we can help you with?" The Imperial captain's sneer grew wider. "Help? From that ancient heap of scrap metal? Tell me, Captain, does it ever bother you? Flying around in yesterday's technology, while the rest of the galaxy advances, your ship belongs in a museum, or perhaps a scrapyard." Behind Miller, the bridge crew continued their work, seemingly unaffected by the insults. They'd all heard worse. The Empire's disdain for human technology had become something of a running joke among the crew. "We manage well enough," Miller replied calmly. "Now, if there's nothing else." "Oh, there is something else," the Imperial captain interrupted. "We've detected some irregularities in your power signature. Nothing serious, I'm sure. Just the sort of thing one would expect from such outdated equipment. Would you like us to send over some of our engineers? They might be able to prevent your core from failing catastrophically." Miller felt his jaw tighten, but kept his expression neutral. The irregularities were nothing of the sort. They were carefully crafted power fluctuations designed to make the Defiant appear less capable than it was. The fact that Imperial sensors could detect them at all was actually a point in humanity's favor, though they didn't know it. "Thank you for your concern," Miller said, "but our engineers have everything well in hand." The Imperial captain made a dismissive gesture. "Suit yourself. Though I must admit, I'm curious. How do you humans maintain your pride? Flying ships like this, while the rest of us cruise among the stars in vessels of true power. It must be humbling." Miller allowed himself a small smile. "Pride comes in many forms, Captain. We take ours in getting the job done, regardless of how we look doing it." "How charmingly primitive," the Imperial captain laughed. "Well, we won't keep you from your important patrol. Try not to let any of your systems fail catastrophically. It would be such a shame to have to rescue your crew." The transmission cut off before Miller could respond, though he hadn't planned to. The Imperial ship glided past them, its engines flaring with unnecessary brightness, a deliberate display of their supposed superiority. "Well," Anne said from her station, "they're getting more creative with their insults. That's something." A quiet chuckle rippled through the bridge. Miller turned to face his crew, a genuine smile crossing his face. "Tom, make sure you got good sensor readings of their ship while they were showing off. Command will want to add it to the database." "Already done, sir," Tom replied. "Their new sensor suite is obvious if you know what to look for. They're not nearly as subtle as they think they are." Miller nodded and returned to his captain's chair. The Empire's mockery was useful. It made them careless, prone to showing off their latest technology, in an attempt to emphasize their superiority. Each encounter added to Earth's understanding of Imperial capabilities. The truth about the Defiant was buried under layers of secrecy. Behind its worn exterior and seemingly outdated systems lay some of humanity's most advanced technology. The flickering lights and power fluctuations were carefully manufactured. The scarred hull contained sensors more advanced than anything the Empire had developed. Even the bridge, with its simple displays and basic controls, was a masterwork of deception. The Empire saw what they wanted to see: an obsolete warship crewed by a species they considered barely worthy of notice. They never questioned why Earth would keep such an old vessel on active patrol. Their contempt blinded them to the possibility that the humans might be more clever than they appeared. "Course laid in for the outer colonies, sir," the navigator reported. "Shall I proceed?" Miller settled into his chair, feeling the familiar comfort of its worn cushions. "Proceed. Steady it as she goes. Let's give our Imperial friends something to mock in their reports." The Defiant's engines hummed to life, a sound that Imperial sensors would read as inefficient and outdated, while in reality, the ship's power plant was operating at peak efficiency. As they accelerated away from the encounter, Miller thought about all the similar meetings they'd had over the past year. The Empire's confidence grew with each passing month, their belief in their own superiority becoming more entrenched with each encounter. Someday, that confidence would be their undoing. But for now, the Defiant would continue its patrol, gathering intelligence with every mocking encounter, playing the role of an obsolete warship while hiding its true nature. Miller and his crew would endure the Empire's ridicule because they understood something the Empire had forgotten. True strength lies not in appearance, but in capability, and the deadliest predator is often the one that appears least threatening. As the stars streaked by outside, Miller reviewed the ship's actual status on his secure terminal. All systems were operating perfectly, their true power hidden beneath layers of false readings and manufactured inefficiencies. The Empire might mock the Defiant, but Miller knew that when the time came, and it would come, They would learn too late the cost of their arrogance. For now, though, they would continue their patrol, a supposedly obsolete warship in a galaxy of gleaming Imperial vessels. And with each passing day, with each sneering encounter, they would add another piece to the puzzle that would eventually bring the Empire to its knees. The emergency signal cut through the quiet of deep space like a knife. Captain Miller had been reviewing maintenance reports when the alert flashed across his screen, its urgent red pulse demanding immediate attention. "Sir," Anne called from her communication station, "we're picking up a distress call from Research Station Delta. They're under attack." Miller straightened in his chair. Research Station Delta was one of Earth's most remote facilities, technically within human space, but close to Imperial borders. "Put it through." The station director's voice crackled through the bridge speakers, filled with static and fear. "To any Earth vessels, this is Research Station Delta. We are under attack by an Imperial warship. They've disabled our communications array and—" "No, please, we're a civilian facility." The transmission cut off abruptly. "How far?" Miller asked, already knowing the Defiant was the closest ship. Tom checked his sensors. 20 minutes at maximum speed, sir. The Imperial ship is still there. Reading weapons fire." Miller's jaw clenched. This was a clear violation of every treaty between Earth and the Empire. "Sound battle stations. Get me ship-wide." The alert klaxon echoed through the ship as Miller stood. "All hands, this is the captain. We have a civilian station under attack. I won't lie. We're heading into a fight against an Imperial warship. They think we're outdated and weak. Today, we proved them wrong." Battle stations. The Defiant's engines roared to life, their true power finally unleashed. The ship shot through space like an arrow, while the crew prepared for combat. Gone was the pretense of inefficiency. Now every system hummed with deadly precision. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the station, and the scene confirmed their worst fears. The Imperial warship, nearly twice the size of the Defiant, was systematically destroying the station's outer sections. Debris floated in space, and emergency force fields flickered around multiple hull breaches. "Imperial vessel, this is Captain Miller of the Earth ship Defiant. Cease your attack immediately. You are in violation of." The Imperial ship's response came in the form of a plasma torpedo that streaked past the Defiant's bow. A warning shot. "Well," Miller said quietly, "I guess we're done talking." Tactical analysis of their weapons. "Standard Imperial loadout, sir," the tactical officer reported. "Their shields are configured for heavy combat. They're not expecting much resistance from, how did they put it last time? A rust bucket." Miller allowed himself a grim smile. "Let's change their expectations. Execute combat pattern Delta 7. Weapons free." The Defiant moved with a grace that would have shocked any Imperial observer. Its supposed structural weaknesses vanished as the ship pulled a tight turn that should have been impossible for a vessel its size. The Imperial ship fired again, expecting an easy target. Instead, the Defiant's true defensive systems activated. The incoming fire met a shield matrix far more advanced than anything the Empire had encountered. The energy dispersed harmlessly across a barrier that, according to every Imperial scan, shouldn't even exist. "Target their weapons array," Miller ordered. "Minimal force. Let's show them exactly what they've walked into." The Defiant's main gun spoke, not with the crude plasma weapons the Empire expected, but with focused quantum phase beams that slipped through Imperial shields as if they weren't there. The precision shots struck exactly where intended, destroying the Imperial ship's primary weapon ports without compromising their hull. On the bridge, Miller watched the Imperial vessel's reaction. They tried to bring secondary weapons online, tried to adjust their shields, tried to call for reinforcements. The Defiant's electronic warfare suite, hidden behind false power signatures all these years, shut down their communications before they could send a distress call. "Sir," Anne reported, "they're hailing us." The same Imperial captain who had mocked outdated Earth ships now appeared on the screen, his purple face pale with shock. This is impossible. Your weapons can't. Can't what? Miller's voice was cold. Can't penetrate your superior shields. Can't target with this level of precision. I wonder what else this rust bucket can't do. We were within our rights, the Imperial captain protested. This station was conducting weapons research. This is a civilian research station studying deep space phenomena. Miller cut him off. And even if it wasn't, you violated 3 separate treaties by attacking it. Power down your remaining weapons and prepare to be boarded. We'll be taking custody of your ship and crew. You can't. I already have. Miller nodded to tactical. Another precise shot disabled the Imperial ship's engines. Your choice now is whether your crew survives this encounter. Decide quickly. The Imperial captain's face showed a mix of fury and fear as he realized his situation. The mighty Imperial warship, reduced to helplessness by what they dismissed as an obsolete relic. We surrender. The next hours were busy as the Defiant's crew secured the Imperial vessel and evacuated wounded civilians from the station. Miller coordinated with Earth Command, knowing this incident would change everything. The Empire wouldn't be able to dismiss this defeat as easily as they had the Defiant's appearance. In his quarters that evening, Miller recorded his log. The Empire's attack on Research Station Delta marks a turning point. Their arrogance led them to believe they could attack a civilian target with impunity. Instead, they'd given us the excuse we needed to demonstrate a fraction of our true capabilities. Earth Command believes the Empire will respond with increased aggression. Wounded pride makes for dangerous enemies, but they've lost the advantage of our perceived weakness. The next time they face an Earth ship, they won't know what's hidden behind its worn exterior. He paused, considering the implications. The Defiant's success today was built on years of careful deception. While the Empire mocked us, we studied them. While they showed off their technology, we perfected countermeasures. They never wondered why Earth, with all its resources, would keep an outdated ship on patrol. Their contempt blinded them to the obvious question. What if it wasn't actually outdated? The captured Imperial ship would be studied, its crew questioned. But Miller knew the real damage wasn't to the Empire's military strength. It was to their certainty of superiority. They would review every encounter with seemingly primitive Earth ships, wondering what other surprises waited behind those weathered hulls. As the Defiant maintained position near the damaged station, waiting for relief ships to arrive, Miller watched the Imperial warship floating powerless nearby. Its once gleaming hull was now scared by precise weapon impacts, each mark a testament to how completely they'd underestimated their opponent. The Empire had mocked this warship, had dismissed it as obsolete and weak. Today they'd learned the cost of that mistake. But Miller knew this was just the beginning. The Empire wouldn't take this humiliation lightly. They would respond with force, trying to prove their superiority once and for all. Let them come, Miller thought. The Defiant had shown what one supposedly outdated ship could do. The Empire was about to discover that every Earth vessel they'd mocked might hide similar surprises. Their arrogance had started this fight. Human ingenuity would finish it. 3 weeks after the Research Station Delta incident, the Empire's response began. It started small Imperial ships harassing human cargo vessels, random inspections of colony ships, and increasingly aggressive patrols along the border. But Miller knew these were just the opening moves in a larger game. The Defiant orbited Earth's largest outer colony, New Hope, its worn exterior masking heightened battle readiness. Miller stood in the ship's briefing room with his senior staff, studying tactical displays showing Imperial fleet movements. "They're not even trying to hide it anymore," Tom said, pointing to red dots representing Imperial warships. 3 battle groups have moved within striking distance of our outer colonies in the past week alone. Anne nodded grimly. And their propaganda broadcasts are getting nastier. They're calling the Delta incident a human provocation, claiming we attacked their ship without cause. Of course they are. Miller traced a finger along the display's border markers. They can't admit one of our obsolete ships defeated their latest warship. It would raise too many questions about their supposed superiority. The room's communications panel chimed. Captain, priority message from Earth Command. The screen lit up with Admiral Rogers' face, his expression grave. Captain Miller, I assume you're tracking the Imperial fleet movements. Yes, sir. They're positioning for something big. Our intelligence agrees. We've intercepted communications suggesting they're planning a full-scale invasion of the outer colonies. They mean to teach humanity a lesson about our proper place in the galaxy. Miller's staff exchanged worried looks. The Admiral continued. The Empire's defeat at Delta wounded their pride. Now they want to prove their dominance once and for all. They believe overwhelming force will break us. How many ships are we looking at, sir? Current estimates suggest 5 Imperial battle groups, possibly more. They're gathering their forces slowly, trying not to be obvious. But our deep space sensors show massive fleet movements behind their borders. Miller studied the tactical display. They'll hit New Hope first. It's our largest outer colony, and taking it would split our defense forces. Agreed. That's why the Defiant will remain on station there. We're deploying additional ships to support you, but they'll be older models like yours. The Admiral's mouth twitched in a slight smile. After all, we wouldn't want to worry the Empire with any signs of advanced technology. The briefing continued, outlining Earth's defense strategy. Throughout human space, ships that appeared outdated and weak were moving into position, each hiding capabilities that would shock the Imperial fleet. Later, walking through the Defiant's corridors, Miller felt the tension among his crew. They'd proven they could handle one Imperial warship, but facing entire battle groups was different. He stopped at various stations, speaking with crew members, ensuring they understood what was coming. In engineering, he found the chief engineer, Robert, supervising modifications to the ship's power systems. How are we looking? Ready as we'll ever be, Captain. Robert patted a nearby console affectionately. They think they know what this ship can do after Delta, but we've still got plenty of surprises for them. We'll need them, Miller replied. Any word from the Colonial Defense Forces? They're nervous, but holding together. The civilian government's doing a good job keeping people calm, but everyone knows something's coming. New Hope's lights were visible through the nearest viewport, the colony's habitation domes glittering against the planet's surface. Millions of people lived there, pioneers who'd built new lives far from Earth. The Empire thought these colonies were weak points, easy targets to break humanity's spirit. Days passed, filled with preparation and waiting. Imperial ships probed the defense perimeter with increasing boldness, testing responses, looking for weaknesses. The Defiant and its small squadron of seemingly obsolete vessels maintained their positions, appearing vulnerable while concealing their true strength. The first real warning came from a deep space sensor buoy. A massive Imperial fleet had begun moving openly toward New Hope, their ships no longer trying to hide their presence. The Empire wanted humanity to see them coming, to understand the futility of resistance. Miller received the report in his quarters. He thought about all the times Imperial ships had mocked the Defiant, all their sneering comments about human technology. Their contempt had led them to this moment, convinced that their superior numbers and apparent technological advantage guaranteed victory. On the bridge, he watched the tactical display fill with red markers as the Imperial fleet approached. His crew worked calmly at their stations, the months of deception having prepared them for this moment. The Defiant's worn exterior now served a new purpose, making the Empire overconfident in their attack. Message from the Imperial flagship, sir, Anne reported. They're demanding our immediate surrender. They say if we withdraw all forces from the outer colonies now, they'll allow Earth to maintain nominal independence under Imperial oversight. Miller smiled grimly. Send them our response. Come and take it. The Imperial fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in waves, hundreds of ships filling the space around New Hope. Their formations were perfect, Their strategy exactly what their training dictated for overwhelming an inferior force. They expected the human ships to break and run, or to be destroyed in a futile defense. Instead, they found the Defiant and its squadron waiting in precise positions, their apparent weaknesses masking carefully planned killing zones. As the Empire prepared to demonstrate their superiority once and for all, they remained blind to the truth that had been in front of them all along. They had mocked these ships, dismissed them as relics, and convinced themselves that humanity was technologically primitive. That belief had shaped their strategy, their deployment, their entire approach to the coming battle. Now that same belief would lead them into a trap years in the making. Miller watched the Imperial fleet take up attack positions, their confidence evident in their aggressive formation. They thought they knew what Earth ships were capable of. They thought the Defiant's victory at Delta had been a fluke, a lucky shot that couldn't be repeated against a proper fleet. All ships, battle stations, Miller ordered, his voice calm. Remember your training. Remember Delta. But most of all, remember why we let them think we were weak. Today, the Empire learns the cost of their arrogance. The massive Imperial fleet moved forward, weapons charged, ready to demonstrate their power against what they saw as inferior vessels. They never questioned why Earth would position outdated ships to defend its most valuable colony. They never wondered what other secrets those worn hulls might hide. Their first salvos would launch any moment, beginning a battle that would change the galaxy. But the Empire's fate had been sealed long before this day, written in every mocking comment and sneering dismissal of human capabilities. They had chosen to see what they expected to see, and that choice would prove fatal. The Defiant systems hummed with hidden power, ready for what was coming. The Empire had mocked this warship, and now that same warship would begin their downfall. All because they never learned the oldest lesson in warfare: never underestimate your enemy. The first Imperial shots lit up space like artificial stars. Hundreds of plasma torpedoes streaked toward the small human fleet, their paths forming a web of destruction that no primitive ships could hope to survive. On the Defiant's bridge, Miller watched the incoming fire with calm eyes. All ships, execute defense pattern Echo, he ordered. Show them what these old rust buckets can really do. The supposedly obsolete human vessels moved with impossible precision. Their formation shifted like a living thing, creating gaps where there should be ships, presenting targets that vanished before Imperial weapons could track them. The massive barrage, enough firepower to level a small moon, hit nothing but empty space. On the Imperial flagship, Grand Admiral Reed watched in growing confusion as his opening strike failed. Impossible. Their ships can't move like that. Our targeting computers show them as slow, outdated vessels. Sir, his tactical officer reported, we're having trouble getting sensor locks. Something's interfering with our systems. Of course you're having trouble. Reed snapped. They're using primitive jamming techniques. Adjust frequencies and fire again. They can't dodge forever. But the human ships weren't just dodging. The Defiant led its squadron in a complex dance, each movement bringing them closer to the Imperial fleet while appearing to retreat. Decades of enduring Imperial mockery had taught them exactly what the Empire expected to see, and now those expectations worked against them. Miller touched a control on his chair. Time to show them the first surprise. All ships, activate quantum shield matrices. The next Imperial barrage struck the human ships directly and splashed harmlessly across barriers that, according to every Imperial scanner, couldn't possibly exist. The energy dissipated in complex patterns, feeding back into the shields instead of damaging them. Sir, Tom called from his station. Imperial fleet is adjusting formation. They're moving to surround us. Let them, Miller replied. They still think they know our capabilities. Weapons, prepare main guns, target their command and control nodes, just like we practiced. The Defiant's outdated weapons ports opened, revealing technology that had been carefully hidden for years. The Empire had mocked their apparent lack of advancement. They'd never considered that humanity's true weapons might be completely different from what they displayed. The first shot from the Defiant struck the nearest Imperial cruiser with surgical precision. The beam wasn't the crude plasma weapon they expected, but a focused quantum lance that bypassed shields and armor as if they weren't there. The cruiser's command center went dark, its crew suddenly unable to control their ship. What was that? Reed demanded, watching one of his best ships drift helplessly. Their weapons, scan that energy signature. Sir, we can't. Our sensors aren't detecting any weapon discharge. According to our readings, they haven't even fired. More shots followed, each human ship revealing weapons that Imperial sensors couldn't even detect. Ship after ship in the Imperial fleet lost control, their crews trapped aboard vessels they could no longer command. The Empire's perfect formation began to break apart. All ships, open fire. Reed ordered, his voice edged with panic. Destroy them. Use everything we have. The space around New Hope erupted with energy as the Imperial fleet launched its full arsenal, but their strategy was based on overwhelming primitive defenses that didn't actually exist. The human ships sliced through their barrage with precision that should have been impossible, their true capabilities finally unleashed. Squadron leaders, execute attack pattern Omega, Miller commanded. Show them what humanity has been working on while they were busy mocking us. The human fleet split into smaller groups, each targeting specific sections of the Imperial formation. Ships that the Empire had dismissed as relics demonstrated maneuvers that violated their understanding of physics. The Defiant led the charge, its worn hull absorbing direct hits that should have vaporized it. On his flagship, Reed watched his carefully planned assault crumble. This isn't possible. They're supposed to be behind us technologically. Every report, every analysis. Sir, we're losing ships faster than we can count. Their weapons, they're not just more advanced, they're operating on principles we don't understand. The Empire's mighty fleet, which had approached with such confidence, was being systematically torn apart. Not through brute force, but with precise strikes that disabled rather than destroyed. Each hit demonstrated not just superior technology, but a perfect understanding of Imperial systems and tactics. They knew, Reed whispered, finally understanding. All those years, those outdated ships, the primitive readings, they wanted us to underestimate them. They studied us while we were laughing at them. The Defiant's next strike took out his flagship's main power, leaving only emergency systems running. Through the viewport, Reed watched his fleet falling to pieces, defeated by the very ships he had mocked countless times. Miller's voice came through on all frequencies, calm and clear. Imperial fleet, you have a choice. Power down your remaining weapons and prepare to be boarded, or continue this fight and lose everything. We've disabled your ships rather than destroying them, but that courtesy only extends so far. Reed stared at the tactical display, watching more of his ships go dark. The mighty Imperial fleet, pride of the Empire, had been defeated by a force they had completely underestimated. Their own arrogance had blinded them to the truth, while they were boasting of their superiority. Humanity had quietly surpassed them. This is Grand Admiral Reed, he transmitted, his voice heavy with defeat. All Imperial ships, stand down. I repeat, stand down. The battle ended not with a grand explosion, but with the quiet powering down of weapon systems throughout the Imperial fleet. The human ships moved among their defeated enemies like sheepdogs herding their flock, their worn exteriors now a mockery of Imperial pride. On the Defiant's bridge, Miller looked at the sensor display showing hundreds of disabled Imperial ships. Send word to Earth Command. The Empire's main fleet is neutralized. New Hope is secure. Sir, and reported, we're getting signals from other sectors. The Empire's forces are retreating across all fronts. Word of what happened here is spreading. Miller nodded. The Empire had built its power on a foundation of perceived technological superiority. Today that foundation had cracked. Every world under Imperial control would soon know that their mighty fleet had been defeated by ships they considered obsolete. "Send recovery teams to the disabled ships," he ordered, "and prepare a full report for command. The Empire's going to have a lot of questions to answer about attacking our colonies." The battle for New Hope was over, but Miller knew this was just the beginning. The Empire's defeat here would echo across the galaxy, showing everyone that their claimed superiority had been an illusion. All because they had mocked the wrong warship, never questioning why Earth would keep such primitive vessels on patrol. As the Defiant moved among the silent Imperial ships, its worn hull gleaming in the light of New Hope's sun, Miller allowed himself a small smile. The Empire had spent years laughing at human technology, never realizing they were helping humanity prepare for this very day. Their arrogance had been their undoing, and now the galaxy would never be the same. News of the Empire's defeat spread across the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. The story seemed impossible. A small fleet of outdated human vessels had destroyed the Empire's main battle fleet, but the evidence was undeniable. Hundreds of Imperial warships floated powerless above New Hope, their crews rescued by the very ships they had mocked for so long. 3 months after the battle, Miller stood on the Defiance Bridge, watching a very different scene unfold. The ship now orbited the Imperial capital world, but not as a visitor seeking permission to dock. The worn warship that had endured years of mockery now led a fleet of Earth vessels, their true power no longer hidden. Another system has declared independence and reported from her station. That makes 17 former Imperial worlds in the past week alone. The Empire was crumbling. Their defeated New Hope had shattered more than their military power. It had destroyed the illusion of superiority that held their realm together. Every subject species and conquered world now knew the truth. The mighty Empire could be beaten. "Message from the Imperial Palace," Tom called out. "They're ready to begin the surrender talks." Miller straightened his uniform. "Signal the other fleet commanders. It's time to end this." The Imperial Palace's grand meeting hall had been designed to humble visitors, its massive architecture meant to emphasize the Empire's power and wealth. But today it felt empty, its grandeur hollow. Miller led the Earth delegation into the hall, joined by commanders from other human ships that had fought at New Hope. Grand Admiral Reed sat at the Imperial side of the table, his once pristine uniform now lacking its medals. Beside him, various Imperial officials shifted nervously in their seats. They had spent years treating human representatives with barely disguised contempt. Now they couldn't meet the Earth commander's eyes. "The terms are simple," Miller began, his voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. "The Empire will withdraw from all occupied territories. Each world will be free to choose its own path: independence, alliance with Earth, or continued association with what remains of the Empire. You're destroying something that took centuries to build," one Imperial official protested. "The Empire brought order to the galaxy." "The Empire brought tyranny," Miller corrected. "You built your power on a foundation of supposed superiority. When that foundation crumbled, everything else followed." Reed spoke up, his voice bitter. "How long? How long were you playing us for fools with those obsolete ships?" "From the beginning." Miller allowed himself a small smile. "Every time you mocked our technology, every time you showed off your latest advancements to impress us with your superiority, we were learning. The Defiant and ships like her were never outdated. They were purpose-built to appear primitive while hiding our true capabilities." The Imperial officials exchanged shocked looks. Their entire strategy had been based on the assumption of technological superiority. They had never considered that humanity might have deliberately appeared weak. "But the research stations," another official said. "The colonial infrastructure, everything we saw suggested." "Suggested exactly what we wanted you to see," Miller finished. "While you were laughing at our primitive ships, we were building something far beyond your understanding. Your contempt made you blind." The surrender proceedings continued through the day. With each passing hour, reports arrived of more systems declaring independence from the Empire. The realm that had dominated the galaxy through fear and proclaimed superiority was dissolving. Later, walking through the imperial capital's streets, Miller saw the changes already beginning. Species that had been relegated to servant roles now walked openly, their heads held high. The Empire's fall had unleashed a wave of freedom that would reshape the galaxy. Back on the Defiant, Miller recorded what would be one of his final log entries of the war. The empire that mocked us has fallen, not through brute force or superior numbers, but through their own arrogance. They believed their technology made them unbeatable, and that belief made them vulnerable. While they were laughing at our ships, they never asked the important questions. Why would Earth keep using outdated vessels? Why would a spacefaring civilization choose to appear weak? Their contempt gave us the perfect cover to prepare for this day. The ship's worn hull had become famous across the galaxy. The vessel that Imperial crews had called a rust bucket was now recognized as the key to their defeat. But Miller knew the Defiant's disguise was no longer needed. "Begin the refit," he ordered. "It's time to show everyone what this ship really is." Over the next weeks, the Defiant's false exterior was stripped away. The flickering lights and power fluctuations that had fooled Imperial sensors were removed. The seemingly basic weapons ports were upgraded with visible quantum lance arrays. When the work was done, the ship gleamed like new, its true nature finally revealed to the galaxy. But Miller kept one small section of the hull unchanged, a patch of worn metal and peeling paint, preserved as a reminder. The Empire had fallen because they saw what they expected to see. They had mocked this warship, never wondering why their targets accepted the mockery with such patience. The final Imperial surrender was signed a month later. The empire that had dominated the galaxy for centuries had been brought down by the very ships they ridiculed. Their territory was divided among newly independent worlds, their mighty fleets reduced to a defense force for their home systems. On the day the surrender took effect, Miller stood in the Defiant's observation lounge with his crew, watching the Imperial capital below. The ship's new hull sparkled in the sunlight, but that preserved patch of wear remained visible, a testament to their long deception. "Hard to believe it's really over," Tom said, breaking the thoughtful silence. "All those years of playing weak, enduring their insults. Worth every moment," Miller replied. "They gave us exactly what we needed: time to prepare, and their complete underestimation of our capabilities." The Empire's fall would be studied for generations, a cautionary tale about the dangers of arrogance and the fatal mistake of mocking one's enemies. They had laughed at humanity's ships, dismissed their technology, and treated them with contempt. That contempt had blinded them to the truth until it was too late. The Defiant began its journey home, leading a fleet of ships that no longer needed to hide their true nature. Behind them, the former Imperial worlds began building their own futures, free from the tyranny that had gripped them for so long. Miller took one last look at the Imperial capital, now just another city on another world. The Empire had mocked this warship, treating it as a relic of the past. Instead, it had become the harbinger of their future, a future they never saw coming, because they were too busy laughing at what they thought they saw.